1 in 2 of us will get cancer. It's a disease that touches every family in Britain.
I've just had really fantastic news that a year on, there's still no evidence of tumour in my lung. It shrank and it hasn't grown back.
Panorama has spent the last 18 months on the front line in the fight against the disease.
This is an unprecedented time of progress in the history of cancer medicine and cancer research.
At the Royal Marsden Hospital in London, patients given just months to live are keeping cancer at bay for years.
5 years ago, before the Marsden, I thought that was it. And, you know, they've given me a good 4 years so far.
I do all the things I want to do. I have my friends and I go to other people's funerals.
Advances in genetics are delivering a new generation of smarter cancer drugs.
I'm taking a drug that doesn't have a name, but it's some letters and numbers. I think it's LDK378.
We told her in the clinic, really, she is a miracle child.
Leading scientists at the Institute of Cancer Research see this as a game-changing moment.
Cure is something that I think we are going to be increasingly be able to talk about. I think for some small numbers of patients that will truly become a possibility.
Patients who've run out of options under conventional treatment are helping to revolutionize our understanding of cancer.
Even though it's terminal, you still think, well, no, that's just a word. If you don't succeed, it's not the one to try in.
Tonight, we meet the patients at the heart of clinical trials that promise a new armoury of weapons in the battle against cancer.
So you've got to write a complaint letter. Whatnot, about how to be rude, how to get your point across.
More than 7,000 women a year in the UK are told they have ovarian cancer. Tammy from Bath is one of them. Mum to Edie, she was diagnosed in 2004 when she was just 30.
So they removed the ovary because they thought it was a cyst in it, but obviously when they took it out, they found the disease. I was then given 3 sessions of chemotherapy to do some shrinkage, and then I had a debulking surgery where they removed bits of my bowel, my ovary. I mean, they did say after that surgery that I was clear.
Surgery and radiotherapy are the main weapons used to successfully treat localized cancers, helping thousands of patients a year to overcome the disease. Once a cancer has spread, chemotherapy drug treatment becomes vital in trying to keep the disease in check. Yet despite 18 sessions of chemotherapy, Tammy's cancer kept returning and spreading.
And physics. And then when it came back again, they tried a different kind of chemo, which it continued to grow through that. And it was at that point my local hospital said, there's not a lot else we can do for you, which is when we got in contact with the Marsden.
Now, thanks to pioneering drug treatments, her disease is being kept in check. Pills she simply takes at home morning and night have replaced and outperformed conventional chemotherapy. It's also personalised medicine. The experimental drugs MEC 162 and BIL 719 are designed for patients with specific genetic mutations in their cancer. She's monitored at one of the hospital's 2 sites.
I'm just doing the what we call drug accountability. It's where we just count the drugs and check that the right amount of drugs are missing for the amount of days that the patient's dosed for, because they need to check when the empties are sent back down to pharmacy that our numbers all add up.
Your numbers usually add up?
They do, don't they?
They do,
Yeah.
very good.
I do, yeah, apart from that one I dropped under the fridge.
Oh, yeah. We found it.
I think I did, yeah.
Tammy has come to meet Professor Johan de Bono. He's in charge of nearly 40 early drug trials run through a unique partnership between the Institute of Cancer Research and the Royal Marsden.
Okay.
The doctors are both research scientists and clinicians, dividing their time between the ICR laboratories and the hospital.
How are you? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Well, the results from today are back. Your blood tests are looking fantastic. They're looking really pretty good. The last scan was clearly stable, so you know the key thing is this next scan in 2 weeks' time. I mean, there is still some disease there, but it seems to be controlled. So this current trial of these 2 pills, has that been much different regarding side effects to the previous trial of the other 2 pills that we gave you?
Yeah, I mean, the skin rash is definitely, and the tiredness on this one is
worse.
Is worse.
Okay.
But compared to chemo and all the side effects from that,
This is okay.
this is easy.
I think that's really it for today. The scans are in 2 weeks. That scan obviously is key. We keep going as long as those scans are stable.
If he says it's stable and he's happy with the scan, then I am. You think you always worry that they're going to say something you don't think they're going to say. But now I'm over the moon. I think, fingers crossed for the scan, carry on, and yeah, it's great.
This is an unprecedented time of progress in the history of cancer medicine and cancer research. The most wonderful thing is that these drugs have much less side effects than chemotherapy. Unlike chemotherapy, these drugs are largely oral tablets. You can go home and take them every day.
The key to this new generation of cancer drugs is our greater understanding of human genetics. A revolution in DNA sequencing has meant that we can map the disease faster, cheaper, and in greater detail than ever. Cancer is caused when genes in healthy cells mutate, leading to uncontrolled cell growth. Conventional drug chemotherapy is a blunt instrument. It kills rapidly dividing cancer cells, but also damages healthy tissue. A new generation of targeted cancer drugs work differently. They're designed to home in and block changes within the cancer cells which drive tumor growth. By targeting them, the cancer cell cannot function and dies.
The holy grail for us in cancer research and cancer medicine is to develop drugs that actually have the ability to spare the normal cell, causing minimal side effects, and killing selectively the tumor cell.
Sophie is just 10 years old and one of the hospital's youngest patients. She's come with her mum from their home in Buckinghamshire to talk to the paediatric care team.
Well, how has the last 3 weeks been?
She was sick last week on Sunday, and we took her temperature, and it was quite high, so we rang here to get some advice as to what to do, and they told us to go down to Stoke, which we did, so she was taken in there.
And that was just for a few hours, that's right?
If that, really, right, yeah.
So you're really back to normal now?
Yes.
Right, okay, right, yeah. It's obviously you've lost a bit of weight, you have, yeah, which is...
Appetite has been quite suppressed.
Yeah.
And just probably make sure that your diet is really as optimal as it can be. You know, so get a dietitian to see.
Although cancer is rare at Sophie's age, the Royal Marsden treats 170 children a year. Her cancer is especially unusual and aggressive.
Sophie has this tumor called IMFT or IMT, which was growing in her chest, a large amount of tumor tissue growing around her lungs and the breathing tubes in a very sensitive area in her chest. The failure to treat that condition would have been incompatible with life.
Sophie's cancer was diagnosed nearly 2 years ago after she became seriously ill with pneumonia. Doctors initially thought the shadow on her lungs was a cyst or even TB. Finally, they said she would need major surgery.
A couple of days after, they said, no, actually, it's this very rare type of tumour, which is why they didn't get the diagnosis right, and that they would have to remove her lung.
What was going through your minds during all that?
Indescribable. It was hell. It was, yeah.
Just sort of lurching from one
extreme to the
another.
That one's the special one, which only people on the trial get.
And then 2 light green.
On each visit, the nurses are helping Sophie to create a necklace, a keepsake of her hospital treatment.
One rainbow.
Everything that I go through, like blood tests and things, I get a bead for.
Sophie's tumour is due to a faulty gene called ALK, which creates a chemical signal that drives the growth of abnormal cells. Her drug blocks those messages. The treatment is showing great promise against some forms of adult lung cancer. It was first tested on mice that were bred to carry the ALK mutation. These ALK mice are studied at the Institute of Cancer Research.
What we really need to understand is the impact of a drug on tumor tissue itself. For obvious reasons, in many children, it's ethically very difficult. It's also painful and dangerous to take tissue from children. And these mouse systems allow you to rapidly conduct preclinical trials in a so-called mouse hospital.
The mice are anaesthetized and scanned to see which of the drug compounds are working to kill the cancer, and so might translate to humans.
What do you say to people who would say, well, you really can't learn from animal trials and we'd be better off not doing them at all?
We think very carefully about what the results mean in these models. We don't think this is the solution to all drug development for cancer. There are other approaches that are useful, and that data should all be considered equally.
So this is a small part then of the whole research picture?
Yes, it is. It's a small part, but in its contribution, it does speed the delivery of cancer drugs to the clinic.
I'm taking a drug that doesn't have a name, but it's some letters and numbers. I think it's LDK 378.
I thought we were going to have to beg to get on the trial, but as it was, I think they were really pleased to have us on the trial.
And at that stage, were you optimistic, or were you just think we'll just have a go?
It was our last. It was our last chance, so it was.
It was all or nothing.
Scared is the best word. It was just that first 6 weeks was terrifying.
Sophie's future depended on the performance of the drug LDK 378, and everything was riding on what the first scan would reveal.
We went into the room, and
Shrunk by about 60%.
Results were incredible. It was, they were gobsmacked. They said afterwards that there was a big departmental cheer because they just don't see results like that. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, quite a miracle.
Unbelievable.
Really.
I mean, it had started off about plum size, and it was down to not much bigger than a hazelnut, I would guess.
What was it like when you saw Sophie's scans and what the drug had done to the tumour?
It is life-affirming. It's the goal of every pediatric oncologist to see that kind of response. It's truly astonishing and miraculous to see, and I think we told her in the clinic that she's unique and that she's very lucky, and that really she is a miracle child.
You mentioned it's like a miracle, and they've used that term. But of course, it's not a miracle, it's science.
Yes. Well, yeah, except it's miraculous science, isn't it?
And we'll be meeting Sophie again later.
Hi, John.
Hello, Fergus.
How are you?
Good to see you.
This is beautiful.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In both young and old cancer patients, some targeted treatments are producing spectacular results.
Oh, what a good shot.
John from Surrey has advanced prostate cancer, which has spread to his spine. He's been part of an international blinded drug trial led by the Royal Marsden, involving more than 1,000 men.
It'll be a 50% chance as to whether what you're given is the real thing or a placebo. You take these 4 rather large tablets a day. I've so far consumed nearly 4,000 of them. And I suppose after about 6 to 9 months, it began to be evident, because of my well-being, that I was getting the real thing.
Did you think you'd be here so many years after your initial diagnosis?
I really didn't. I really didn't. I mean, let's face it. I thought if I see 80, I probably ought to be lucky. I'm now 83 and I feel no different.
John's drug is a targeted therapy which blocks signals from hormones that drive prostate cancer growth. It works so well on him that he's what's known as a super responder.
Right, so my name's Adam. I'm going to give you this injection today.
He's having a bone scan to monitor his progress.
So what we're doing today, Mr. Timberlake, is we're going to give you an injection of a radioactive compound now.
Yes.
Now this yellow band lets all our staff know that you're radioactive. The idea being that if they're pregnant, they can run away and avoid you.
Hello, Fergus. How nice to see you.
How are you?
Good. If you're pregnant, you mustn't be sitting near me, I warn you.
I don't think I am. Do you get anxious before you talk to the doctor?
I did at the beginning, but I've got possibly a little bit complacent, I don't know, but because this is my 26th month on this programme.
Wow.
I'm beginning to think, well, I guess it's going to be all right, isn't it? I mean, one day they'll say, I'm afraid, John, I got a bit of bad news, but so far there's absolutely nothing. And of course, it's great. My life goes on. I do all the things I want to do. I have my friends, and I go to other people's funerals.
Yes.
But, you know, what I'm listening for is no change, John. All is good.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely.
John's trial drug, enzalutamide, is now licensed. It costs £35,000 a year, though the NHS has negotiated a confidential, discounted price.
Dr. Alan Smith, please come in.
John's just had some more tests.
So I didn't find anything on exam that I'm worried about. We've done some blood tests and we did the scans. So the bone scan didn't show anything new or different.
Today?
Correct. We were really happy. There's nothing new worrisome.
Good.
The CT scan didn't show anything new as well. There's no new spots anywhere.
Yeah.
I am very confident that with some of these drugs, we will be giving patients many, many years of life. And prostate cancer, I'm seeing patients living 5, 10 years regularly. So you're really now coming to making cancer a chronic illness that you can live with, like blood pressure or diabetes, for many years.
Scientists are understandably reluctant to talk about conquering cancer, but some believe we're at the dawn of a new age of cancer therapy as these medicines move into the mainstream and become first-line treatments.
I do think increasingly we will cure a larger number of cancers, particularly if we can catch them early, because actually if you can catch these cancers when there's less cells, statistically, numerically, the chances of that cell evolving and changing if there's less cells are much less.
These sort of pleasures that you have, everyday pleasures, in a way, it's down to the tablets, isn't it? The treatment.
It's the tablets, it's the treatment, it's the fact that I'm so happy to be alive. And may many more years of it come. I don't know how many, but...
You've still got your touch on the croquet lawn, that's for sure.
It's not too bad. I've played better. I've been quite a low handicap in my best days, but, you know, I have played twice for England.
This year, 2.5 million people in the UK will be living under the shadow of a cancer diagnosis, the biggest number in the history of the NHS.
Thank you.
Tammy's decade-long struggle against ovarian cancer continues.
Every 8 weeks, I have this full-on day. Most of the time we just come up and it's to see the doctor, have the bloods done, and that's pretty much in and out. But because this is the first day of the first cycle, it's it's quite full on in this one.
Hi, Tamarin. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Hi, nice to see you. Yeah. So how are things?
Yeah, not too bad. Apart from this bug that I've had.
Does it feel like it's getting any better?
Yeah, I think it's just slowly it's getting better.
And the other thing, which we're routinely doing the scan for, is to look at your disease, and things look great, actually. Yeah, when I spoke with the radiologist, she was really happy. Yeah, so, and I'm really happy to be able to tell you that. Yeah.
That's good.
Good.
Thank you. I'm really pleased, actually. There's been a bit of concern that maybe there's a bit of growth and wasn't doing what we were hoping, but it seems to be fine.
How far into the future do you think?
It's hard because Edie starts senior school next year. But, you know, that voice in the back of your mind, it's, you know, will I be there to take her? But I do feel confident that I will be here to take. So you have that little dark voice, but then there is my rational side that, you know, 5 years ago, before the Marsden, I thought that was it. And, you know, they've given me a good 4 years so far.
Cancer survival in the UK has doubled in the past 40 years. Half of those diagnosed can now expect to live at least 10 years. But some cancers are still very hard to treat.
We identified an area of what we would consider to be very high unmet need with a group of tumours that arise in the salivary glands of patients. Specifically, they are almost entirely insensitive to all of the standard chemotherapy drugs. And there is a subset of these tumours which spread very readily to tissues around the body, particularly to the lungs, the liver and the bone. And there are no treatments available for patients who suffer that disease. Hello, hi.
Anne has just such a form of hard-to-treat cancer, which started in her windpipe but has now spread. She's come with her husband Jamie to enrol on a unique research project designed to create drugs tailor-made to the patient.
So next week we're going to take a biopsy from one of the tumour masses in your chest. In the coming weeks and months we're going to conduct detailed genetic analysis of that tumour and hopefully to discover what are the mutations that exist in that tumour that are driving its process and allowing it to cause the disease that you have.
Anne's biopsy tissue will come here to the ICR's tumour profiling unit. Until recently, it would have been too complex and expensive to map an individual patient's cancer. Gene sequencing is now so much faster and cheaper. It's enabling cancer to be examined and understood in greater detail than ever.
It's a very, very exciting time. And sequencing is a technique that can be used not only to identify the genes that can drive, but also to monitor as the disease progresses. It can tell us about evolution, about how the tumors evolve, and how they evolve with treatment, how they change. So it's a very good way to monitor the way tumors behave in different conditions.
Do you have any immediate questions?
But the scientists will not only sequence Anne's biopsy, they will attempt something unusual.
What we're also going to do is we're going to take the tumour tissue that we obtain next week and we're going to put some of that into conditions where we would allow it to grow, we hope. And we'll do that by implanting it under the skin in mice that don't have an immune system so that they'd be able to grow human tumour within their bodies.
The aim is for the mice to become cancer avatars, replicating Anne's tumour and its DNA profile. A range of drugs can then be tested on them. It holds out the possibility of treatments capable of targeting both primary and secondary cancers.
Do you test the drugs on the mice before you test them on me, or does that happens, or?
Yeah. So the idea around this approach is to try to avoid using people, patients, as the the field of battle in which we test these drugs. When we try treatments, we want to be as certain as we possibly can be that there's a very good chance that it's a good selection of therapy and that there's a good chance that you're going to respond to this treatment. Clearly, we hope that for every patient from whom we take a tumour, we will get a successful result, that we'll be able to grow the disease and we'll be able to then use that to test the therapies that we want to try.
When the hands be cold.
That's okay.
How are you feeling about the whole process?
Quite excited. No, it's good. It's obviously a hard situation to be in, but something's happening, so that's good. He sounds really positive about it, so.
Anne and her husband have 3 young children. Now, the family from Hertfordshire are planning a special holiday.
So who remembers where we're going?
Thailand.
Taiwando?
Thailand.
Thailand. And how many aeroplanes do we have to get?
2, 3.
3.
4.
3 on the way there, 3 on the way back. I kind of had a year of just getting better and getting back to normal life. And then a scan showed that it spread to my lungs. And I think I've got about 20 tumours across both lungs. So then in January this year, they found the tumours back in my trachea. So that's probably been the worst. And I've never really been given a prognosis before, but they did say this time they think months rather than years. So that was probably the worst. That's why we're going to Thailand.
Holly, Beth.
They've always known that since I've had cancer, I've always told them. The advice is always to tell them. And we told them that, you know, I probably won't be around as long as I want to be or as long as they would like me to be. And it was the most heartbreaking thing we've ever done. It was absolutely hideous. But hopefully in the long run, it will have been the right thing to do.
Anne is back for the biopsy. The team scan her to find the most accessible tumour in her lung to extract some of the tissue containing its corrupted DNA. Some of the biopsy is sent for sequencing at the tumour profiling unit. In the near future, rather than an invasive biopsy like this, it may be possible to track the changes in the cancerous DNA wherever it has spread or metastasized, simply by analysing a blood sample.
Okay. So blood DNA is also quite interesting for metastatic disease once there is spread. Different areas of the body, when you've got metastatic disease, can have tumours, and you only biopsy one, but when you're looking at blood, it might have a representation of all the different tumours.
The rest of Anne's tissue is implanted in mice in the hope that they will grow her tumour, allowing doctors to test drugs that will attack her individual cancer.
Isn't it just to practice, Oliver? Practice the notes.
Anne is one of 12 patients who are part of this AVATAR trial. 4 of the patients' tumour biopsies subsequently grew in mice, and this research is ongoing.
They've called me in, so this, I think it's either going to be the tumour's growing on the mice, or the tumour's not growing, can we take another biopsy?
Unfortunately, the tumours that we had tried to establish in the avatars, we've now concluded that that's actually not going to be successful on this occasion.
Okay.
We're very optimistic that the technique can work. What we'd ideally like to do is to try again with another piece of tumour tissue
I don't mind. I'll do anything I have to do. I don't mind at all. The last few years, we've really made the most of things. You know, we've done a lot. You know, and in a way, it's. I don't want to have to be creating memories all the time, but that's what's happening. So, you know, that's why we booked this holiday to Thailand, to give something really memorable to the kids. You know, you just don't want them to forget you, I suppose.
Sadly, Anne died a few months after their holiday, 3 years after being diagnosed with cancer.
You know, it's one of the tough things about being an oncologist is that you see people at a really bad time in their lives, and often you're the bringer of very bad news when things that they had hoped would happen haven't happened, when treatments that they hoped would materialise do not materialise. Now, towards the end of Anne's life, we were still exploring other opportunities for her, and at that time we were still trying to think that there may be opportunities, clinical trials that she could take part in, but unfortunately that was not something we could offer her.
But sometimes the targeted drug treatments are so effective, patients can look forward to a future without cancer. Sophie, who was treated for a rare tumour surrounding her airway, is still regularly monitored at the Royal Marsden.
Okay, just close your eyes for me a minute, just while that laser light's on. Your eyes closed. Open them again.
Yes. Yeah. We need 3 blood tests.
It's a special day for Sophie, and she adds to her personal record of all her hospital visits.
And 1 CT. 1 CT scan. And a birthday.
And a birthday, Bee. Because your birthday. And how old are you going to be?
11.
11? Oh, how exciting. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay.
It makes up for coming to the hospital, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Well done.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
That's all right. That's okay.
So you want to know about your scans, I expect, and they are good. We're very pleased with how things are. Things are stable to even smaller than they were before. So your lump, when you came to see us, was this one over here.
The scan results suggest that what is left of Sophie's tumour is completely inactive.
And things had improved very quickly.
It makes me feel happy that there's not a massive mass in my lung anymore. My very, very first scan was, the tumour was a very big tumour, but now it's a much smaller tumour and it's not affecting me anymore.
Were you expecting to hear today that it was a little bit smaller, or did you not think much?
I didn't. Well, I thought that it was going to be something like that it hadn't shrunk, that you could see. But it's good news to hear that it has shrunk.
She's never kind of felt sorry for herself, or which helps a lot. If
She's never asked why me.
No.
Never. And I think I would. If somebody told me I had cancer, I'd want to know why me. But it's never come out of my mouth.
For Sophie, daily drug treatment doesn't need to interrupt holidays and a trip to the beach.
That was not too bad.
That's her daily medicine, which she has to take with 2 spoons of low-fat yoghurt, and that's it. That's her done for the day.
That's all she takes. That's her treatment.
That's her treatment.
What is it like to be one of the first people in the world to be on this treatment?
Yeah, it's quite exciting.
And you are a medical pioneer, aren't you?
Yeah.
So has it spurred you on then to think about what you're going to do later in life?
Well, I've always kind of wanted to be a doctor, but now that I've been through all of this, I want to be a doctor even more.
The Royal Marsden was the world's first hospital dedicated to cancer treatment.
Today is the Marsden March, and 8 of my friends are doing a walk from the Chelsea Marsden up to the Sutton Marsden. I think they're especially motivated this year for me because obviously I've been being treated at the Marsden now for coming up for 3 years.
Sarah has ovarian cancer and at one stage was given 6 months to live. She's experienced some unusual side effects on her drug trial.
Unfortunately, I can't go out in the sunlight though because the drugs that I'm taking have made my skin photosensitive to the sunlight. I'll either have my hood up or be hiding in some shade somewhere. I'll work it out, but yeah, I'll be there to see them come back.
This is my little way of saying thank you. You know, if it wasn't for the Marsden, my sister wouldn't be here today. If she wasn't on the trial drugs, they've kept her alive, and we've had a few extra years out of her, so may there be many more.
My goalposts again have extended. My 6 months has now turned into 3.5 years. And I'd like to think that that will be extended, you know, again quite a bit longer. Come and collect your medals.
But despite all the money raised by charity, the millions invested in this work by drug companies, research bodies and the NHS, there are no easy victories in the war on cancer.
Last one!
It is a hugely complex disease with a myriad of genetic variations. So tackling cancer can be like chasing a moving target.
Would you like to take a seat? Yes, thank you.
Jacqueline has had cancer twice. More than a decade ago, it was breast, and now advanced lung cancer. She's on another targeted therapy and comes from Merthyr Tydfil with her family for her checkups.
Okay. So by the first cycle, only 4 weeks in, they noticed a significant difference in the fact that everything was shrinking. Yeah.
So they were really pleased, excited, really pleased.
She's only the second person in the world to have this effect based on the type of cancer that she has. And it was a bit of a gamble, and I think you persuaded them, didn't you? That you really wanted to have a go at this trial. And we're really pleased that they took her on.
Because I was convincing them, I think I was doing psychology on them. I will be all right, I'll be fine, I'll be fine.
Jacqueline gets the latest news from her consultant, Dr. Uday Banerjee.
So, just very briefly, I've gone through the blood tests, and your white cell count seems to be holding, which is one of the things we look at in chemotherapy and these new drugs. That if the white cell count drops below a certain point, there's a risk of infection. So, I think we carry on. You know, I think we're very, very pleased the way it's going, and you're looking amazing. When I first saw you, I think you'd just come off radiotherapy, and you had a long journey from home, and you were feeling very tired, and we had this discussion of whether we should go on a study or not.
I convinced you.
It was the right decision, no doubt about that.
And your reactions.
Yes. And the thing is, if nobody does these trials, nothing is going to get tested. You know, you have to give everything a try. Even though it's terminal, you still think, well, no, that's just a word. And if you don't succeed, it's not for the want of trying.
The experimental drug Jacqueline's been taking is called BMN 673. It jams a repair mechanism in cancer cells and inhibits their ability to grow. On it, she's had a few extra months of good health. But then, the treatment fails.
The doctor that's seen me had said that they were going to stop the drug because 2 more tumours had developed in the liver. So, a bit of a shock. I think they He was so upset is what I felt, because, you know, I've been going so well with everything. And
So why do the drugs sometimes stop working? Scientists at these ICR labs in London discovered that cancer survives through Darwinian evolution. The DNA of cancer cells is inherently unstable. Every time they copy themselves, more genetic errors occur, and the disease rapidly changes. So when drugs are sent to destroy them, this natural selection means some cancer cells develop resistance and survive.
Resistance is a major issue because these are cancers that are genetically unstable. They can change, and they evolve. We call this, clonal evolution.
And if you had to describe cancer, I would say it's an evil genius. So it has, obviously, it is destructive. It's learned all the evolutionary tricks to survive. So, for example, a lot of our targeted treatments, the cancer shrinks very quickly after, and in about 8 to 9 months, or sometime a year and a half, those cancers stop responding.
So is resistance really the big hurdle that you're facing with these new targeted treatments?
Resistance is inevitable. It's going to happen. We have a huge effort trying to understand cancer evolution, and the more you understand it, you can predict the next step the cancer is going to take.
I get days when I'm a bit down, but I'm told I'm not to be down on my own anymore. That's what my daughter says. So I try not to. It is level 4 cancer. It's very aggressive. They didn't even think it would shrink as much as it did. But so I told them, like, keep me, on your list, and make sure you don't forget me.
Last year, Jacqueline lost her battle against lung cancer.
We'd have many days where we would all be sat on her bed because she didn't feel like getting out of bed, so we'd get in bed with her and sit and watch the Antiques Roadshow or something.
Our new living room was her bedroom.
And the experience of being on the trial, when you saw that it was working, what was that like?
A roller coaster, wasn't it? But when it was working, every week there was just a sense of joy and the hope back into our family again. So it was a tough time, but it was just amazing to have her for the time that we did because of it.
How important are these patients to you and to the work of your colleagues?
It's a privilege to actually be part of the cancer journey with them. They are the true heroes of drug development. They go through all the treatments and then they volunteer, knowing very often that there is a very small chance of them benefiting for this, but they do it for their children, their grandchildren, for humanity.
Is that how you think of your mum?
Absolutely. I'm very, very proud of her. It wasn't an easy trial in terms of the travelling. I mean, this opportunity wasn't available where they were living. So she would make the effort, as poorly as she was, to travel up to London to stay overnight. And she effectively handed over her living body to research, to science.
Tammy is on a targeted therapy for ovarian cancer. But after a year, her disease starts progressing and she has to come off the trial. The treatment stops working. Drug resistance has kicked in.
I was shocked because I didn't feel that I had any symptoms. But yeah, again, it's just an adjustment. It's kind of just that knockback every time. Just hope that they can find something else to keep you going.
it's always there. It's hanging over you. So I'm very good at denial. You find a place to put it, because otherwise, it consumes you. And I guess while you're on the trial and you're doing it, you forget about it. I mean, it's something I don't dwell on, the fact that I'm ill. But when they take you off it comes crashing home again.
But new drugs are coming through. For Tammy, there is another treatment called olaparib, which is helping patients like Tammy whose cancer may be driven by inherited genetic faults.
How have you found this olaparib drug? How has it been?
It's been good. A bit of nausea. Keep getting that. A bit of tiredness, but not as bad as the last trial.
Okay.
So no, overall, feeling pretty good.
Looking at all your recent results, I'm really quite encouraged that we have what looks like stable disease on the scans.
Okay,
There's been very little change overall. So, I'm reassured that actually things are relatively stable, although you've got fairly slow-growing disease, so that's been always the case for us. The blood tests have been very good, actually. So, overall, the impression I get is that things are stable. The drug is having some impact, it would appear. I mean, this drug has been spectacular in many ovarian cancer patients. In fact, some patients have been on it for years, actually. I think our record is over 5 years on an early trial. So, we have seen it work.
Thank you very much.
All right, good.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Let's hope it keeps working.
Of course.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
The Royal Marsden ICR team know that by introducing new drugs, using them in combination, and even rotating treatments, they may be able to stay ahead or at least keep pace with cancer resistance. It will be a key strategy in transforming the disease into a manageable long-term condition.
How's Tammy doing?
This trial has actually suited her quite well.
If she progresses, there are, I guess, other trial options.
She's got a low-grade ovarian cancer, but she's got a KRAS mutation, so it is possible to personalize her care with the newer drugs.
So by knowing that molecular data, we can actually probably put her on the other trial if this drug stops working.
The advent of personalized treatments means that for tomorrow's cancer patients, there will be far more options for fighting the disease than when Tammy's mother developed breast cancer.
Mum was diagnosed with cancer when I was 13, 14. But ever since then, and she was a hairdresser, she fitted the wigs for the cancer patients at the hospital. So growing up, there was always women with no hair in my house. I think if you come from a family or from where you haven't been affected by it, I think it hits you harder. And I think it was always around in our family. So, and had I not had ED, possibly it would have hit me a lot harder. But having her made me strong.
What is it like getting the chance to try these new, genetically advanced treatments? What does that feel like to be part of that?
It feels incredible because we lost Mum to breast cancer last year. And obviously I've got a daughter and a niece and a sister. So to be able to do something that could potentially stop my daughter going through it, it's got to be done, isn't it?
Drug resistance remains one of the biggest hurdles in cancer. But as well as extending life with new targeted treatments, scientists are also exploring how to harness the body's inbuilt defenses by boosting the power of the immune system.
Have you had scans like this before?
Vicky is another cancer pioneer and an astonishing example of how even advanced disease can be halted. For Vicky has malignant melanoma, an aggressive form of skin cancer, and it was found only after it had spread to her breast and lungs.
They just said it was melanoma cells, not the breast cancer tumour that I had assumed it was, but it had gone to my lungs. I'd never done any research into melanoma. Very few people understand that it can progress into other parts of the body.
I came to meet Vicky's consultant, Dr. James Larkin. We looked at her initial scan, which shows the main melanoma tumour on her lung.
Which is the black area, and there we have a 2 or 3 centimetre lump. We'd call that a lung metastasis. So some melanoma that's spread into the lung, and that's probably 2-3 centimetres in size, something like that. Yeah, absolutely. And
the outlook seemed bleak, but Vicky was offered the chance of going on a trial at the Royal Marsden.
I understood that the life expectancy with someone with stage 4 melanoma was about 6 months. So I wanted to make the most of that 6 months, but I didn't want to spend it unwell. So although doing a trial is quite hard in lots of ways, and you don't know what to expect, it seemed to give me the best chance of a good quality of life. And it was quality I was looking for rather than quantity.
And originally you've been going to go to the Black Sea?
We spent a whole day cruising through the Bosphorus.
Vicky, from Cardiff, wanted to travel and see as much of the world as she could.
And I did something off my bucket list. I went snorkeling in Skiathos.
What's different about the drugs Vicky was given is that they don't kill cancerous tissue themselves, but rather enable our immune system to do so. Within our bodies is an army of cells designed to destroy any organism which poses a threat, but spare healthy tissue. Cancer cells, which are corrupted copies of normal human tissue, can sometimes be difficult for our killer cells to identify, and in some cases they inhibit the immune response through a chemical handshake on the cell's surface. The new drugs block the handshake, so the killer cells see the cancer for what it is. The immune system is reprogrammed to destroy the cancer.
Ordinarily, the immune system might recognise the cancer as foreign, if you like, and destroy it at an early stage. And so, in a sense, the cancer is putting the brakes on the immune system. And so we're coming in with drugs that act against these brakes. If you like, you're taking the brakes off the immune system, you're stimulating the immune system, and then the immune system, if you like, recognises the cancer and is able to attack it.
And if the immune system can lock on, it holds out the hope of overcoming cancer even as it evolves.
With immunotherapy, you've reprogrammed the system, if you like, and so inside the patient, you actually have an immune system that can recognise tumour cells, and that if a bit of tumour does become resistant, the experience to date certainly seems to be that the immune system can still deal with that.
Vicky is part of a major international trial testing 2 immunotherapy drugs, ipilimumab and nivolumab. The trial is blinded, so doctors don't know which of the drugs she's taking. But the effects were so rapid, they suspect she's on a combination of both treatments.
I remember you saying, and this may have only been a couple of weeks after you started treatment, you'll need to remind me, that you'd already
Yes, I had quite a
felt the lumps
substantial lump
beginning
here, and it had gone, and you didn't believe me. So you had your registrar come and check me out again.
Yeah.
And she agreed with me that it had gone.
It wasn't that I didn't believe you. It's more of the fact that when we see something like that, we actually like to re-measure things. So, and so this was a scan actually before you started the treatment at the end of July last year. And then if we were to look at the scan that's been done from today, it looks like on the scan it's pretty much disappeared completely.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
However, she developed dangerous side effects, hepatitis and meningitis. Vicky needed treatment for these, and she had to stop the cancer trial early. But the immunotherapy had already worked.
So you've just had 2 doses, and yet your cancer has shrunk and seems to have disappeared.
It has remained stable for virtually a year now, yes.
What is it about immunotherapy that can have these unusual effects.
We want the immune system to attack the cancer, that's how the drugs work, but at the same time you can get the liver, for example, being attacked, and so you can get inflammation of the liver, hepatitis, you can get the gut being attacked, and so those are side effects that we don't really see with any other type of drug used to treat cancer. And so if the immune system has been, shall we say, overactivated, or it is attacking normal parts of the body, we need to dampen down that overactivation of the immune system. And Vicky's case illustrated that very well.
Good morning. I've got Jenny with me today.
We haven't seen each other for
ages, is it?
a while.
You okay?
Right, so, scan was good again.
I'm really pleased to hear that.
The next visit is 3 months.
That's what I was
So
hoping you were going to say, yes.
That's good
yeah,
news
that's
as well,
brilliant,
because
yes.
it's been 6 weeks, every
Yes,
6 weeks,
yes,
hasn't it, for the
yes,
last year?
yes.
Those are your questions?
Yes, yes. I always come with questions. I have managed to find somebody to give me travel insurance at a reasonable cost. The only stipulation was that I was non-terminal. So I can say that now, can I?
Yeah.
So if you're happy to say that.
I'd be happy to say that, yes.
Fantastic.
I don't think it's what we expected today, is it?
No.
So it was fantastic to get that really good news from James today.
And it's lovely to have someone with you to have good news, not just to support you at the bad times. I can really get on with my life and put this in the back of my mind and just drag it out once every 3 months, which will be fantastic.
I think everyone who treats melanoma in particular is excited about this. I mean, we've had targeted therapies in melanoma. Now we've got immunotherapy. The prospect of controlling solid tumours for long periods of time has to be exciting. And if you like, a brand new way of treating lots of different types of cancers. But I think the critical thing is that now we have drugs that are effective in the clinic. It absolutely opens the whole field as a proof of principle that this is a new way to treat cancer.
Vicky and other melanoma patients are helping to change the landscape of cancer treatment. She's no longer on any drugs and living life to the full, here supporting her daughter who's run a half marathon.
She's done really well, it's fantastic, and she's raised so much money. And how much have you raised altogether?
About £1,000 I think we've raised, so well worth the pain.
When I first had the drug, I think there were only about 50 other people in the world who'd had it. And so we're right at the edge. Nobody can say what's going forward because we've never been going forward. So all the time, it's a learning curve. And for me, luckily, it's been a good learning curve.
Just one of Vicky's new drugs costs £75,000 per patient before the NHS discount. And so these new treatments present hard choices for health spending. But while the war against cancer is far from over, these new weapons offer the hope of keeping this deadly disease at bay for longer than ever, and in some cases permanently.
Here is something that I think we are going to be increasingly be able to talk about, particularly when we use these drug combinations with immunotherapy as well. So yes, I think for some small numbers of patients that will truly become a possibility. But there's still a lot more work to do.